Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something pretty fundamental: education. Specifically, how it's looking right now here in 2025.
Hmm.
Our source material for this is an excerpt from a discussion, and it asks a really pointed question.
Yeah, it cuts right to the chase. Is the education system we have actually fit for purpose today?
Yeah,
Or are we, working with old tools?
exactly. And the source, well, it doesn't hold back on criticism, but it also flags some genuinely promising developments too.
And what's interesting is where it starts, right off the bat, it goes for standardized testing.
Right.
It's asking, are these tests measuring success in a way that just feels, well, old? Maybe even decades old, like from the 1950s, as the source implies.
Yeah, the criticism seems to be that it rewards memorization over, say, genuine creativity or thinking critically.
Mm-hmm. And, the source brings up AI being in classrooms now, right?
Right.
And yet, we're still focused on bubble sheets in some cases. It just feels like a huge mismatch.
A disconnect, yeah. And the discussion suggests this isn't just like inefficient. It could actually be kind of damaging.
How so?
Well, it potentially makes students feel like their whole value is just boiled down to that single score.
Right, right. And if the tests are focusing on potentially outdated skills,
Then what important skills are we maybe not teaching? That's the next logical question the source tackles.
and it highlights a pretty big gap there. Things like emotional intelligence, good communication, even just practical life skills.
Yeah, like the example they give. Can you solve a really complex equation but struggle with basic budgeting or understanding taxes?
That contrast really hits home in the discussion. It makes you think.
Absolutely. And another thing that the pandemic really put a spotlight on, which the source covers, is the digital divide.
Oh, for sure. Remote learning just laid it bare, didn't it?
Totally. Things we might assume everyone has reliable internet, a device, even just a quiet spot to study are actually luxuries for many.
So even if technology offers new ways to deliver education,
The source argues that access, the equity part, is seriously lagging behind. We're not all starting from the same place.
which connects to the bigger picture question the source raises. Is school actually preparing students for the careers and, the challenges of today? Or tomorrow, even?
Because the modern world, the modern workplace, it demands adaptability, right?
Let's bring it
Problem
out.
solving, those soft skills.
Things that the traditional system, as described here, might not just ignore, but maybe even um, discourage sometimes.
Yeah, the discussion kind of hints that schools can sometimes feel like places where you're rewarded for fitting in, not for taking risks.
And that's where that really striking analogy comes in.
The factory worker one.
Yeah. The source suggests the system can sometimes feel like it's designed to produce good factory workers rather than, say, innovators for the future.
That's a pretty blunt assessment of the core problem they see.
It is. But importantly, the discussion doesn't just stop there. It makes a point of looking at where things are changing for the better.
Which is good. It's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. It mentions things like project-based learning, flipped classrooms getting more popular.
Uh-huh. And even alternative models like Montessori or Waldorf gaining more attention precisely because they tackle some of these criticisms head on.
Yes, and a really crucial point they make is about the teachers.
Absolutely. Huge credit given there.
The source really emphasizes that educators are often doing amazing things despite the system, working within what it calls pretty rigid constraints sometimes.
So a lot of the real innovation, according to this discussion, isn't necessarily top-down policy.
No, it's bubbling up from the ground level, from dedicated teachers, administrators, finding creative solutions.
And the potential fixes discussed seem to revolve around empowering those teachers more, right?
Exactly. Empowering teachers, building more trust in students, using technology wisely.
Yeah.
But always with that focus on making sure it's equitable.
Okay, so let's kind of recap what this source puts on the table for you, the listener. It argues pretty strongly that the current system often relies on outdated testing, neglects really crucial modern skills,
Suffers from that digital divide we talked about.
and maybe, just maybe, is geared towards an economy of the past.
But, and this is important, it balances this with acknowledging the real innovation happening, often driven by teachers.
So the system, according to this source anyway, is definitely at a kind of crossroads, a significant one.
Which really leaves us and you with a core question stemming from this discussion to think about.
Oh, no.
Well, if the system, as this source argues, sometimes feels like it's stuck preparing people for that old factory model,
Mm-hmm.
what does that actually mean for your future?
Hmm.
And maybe more importantly, drawing on the potential solutions mentioned, like empowering educators, assuring tech equity. How do we collectively bridge that gap?
It definitely gives you a lot to chew on when you look at education today.